Okay, welcome back for block number 3 in the Northern Flora quilt. This is black currant, and we have our beautiful kit here, and we're going to just jump right in. This one will go really fast. You'll notice they'll go faster and faster, especially some of the more simple ones, and we'll get a few that are a little more detailed. They'll take some time, but after a while, you'll probably be able to get all these done between 15 to 30 minutes. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead, and I've got my book. I've again got here's my black currant, pages 14 and 15, and I've got my copy of the layout guide printed out and ready to go. And I've got all my appliques labeled. So I've got everything labeled already. I've got my 4 cathedral window appliques cut out and ready. And I've got my 10.5-inch square background ready to go too. So I'm going to turn on my light table, move my book off to the side for reference, and we're going to center our 10.5-inch square onto our layout guide, following those little lines, on top and bottom, and just jump right in. So what does step A say? Branch. Okay, what's branch? It's the only thing that's free cut. You don't even have to pull it out of anything or pop it out. So here's our branch. Now, when I want to arrange this, I'm going to, again, find kind of a center area, this little V here in the middle. I'm going to arrange that spot first, and then just kind of guide my branches where they're supposed to go. And this little piece, boop, boop, boop. There we go. Step B, all cathedral window appliques. So all 4 of them. And again, there's no right way or wrong way. You can go top or, these 2, then these 2. You can go clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever you want to do. However you want to arrange them. Just centering them on the sides. And you have, 1/4 inch seam allowance here that's going to show the edges. So I usually like to kind of place them more inside on the fabric than like hanging over it all, because you don't want to make it like your square is bigger. If that makes sense, you have a 10.5-inch square. So if you were to hang them off by like 1/8 of an inch, for one thing, you're not going to be lined up on your, on the arch there in your drawing, but you're also, oh, that one's a little to the side. Also, when I'm doing these, I like it to be straight in front of me. I just move it around. But you're also going to kind of make your background bigger than it's supposed to be if you lay these out too far. And when you go to fuse everything, some of the glue, if it's hanging off, some of that glue could end up getting on your iron. And so I just like to kind of keep them right within that edge or right along that edge as I lay these down. So just something to think about. You will have those little tips hanging off the side, and that's something, again, that when you go to your ironing, you just kind of want to watch your iron hitting those little tips, and so you don't get glue everywhere. Okay, so I always move it around. I just kind of like to do that. I like them to be right in front of me as I lay it down. So I'm going to just recenter myself and move on to step C. So that is leaves A and B. So our leaves are going to be out of these 2 green colors. Leaf A is this really big one right here in front. And I'm just going to pop her out. Nice big leaves. This one actually goes so fast. It really doesn't have a lot of pieces to it. So if we have a leaf A1, what does that mean? That means that we have a leaf A2. And here she is. Now these ones are going to be very delicate. They're very, very thin pieces. So if we have any that get torn, which I probably will, I'll show you how you want to fix that. So essentially, if you tear a piece, you can just sort of lay down the piece, take that little torn piece and just stick it where it would have gone and kind of butt it up to the rest of the applique that it tore off of. And the glue, when you go to fuse it, it's going to kind of just sort of heal that tear, and you won't really even notice it. And if it's something where it got like really mangled, or maybe the tip just kind of really tore apart, you can always just go and okay, so here's an example. I've lost about the last 1/8 of an inch of a tip here. You can probably see that paper sticking out. And I've actually lost one right here too. So those are so small, and they almost come to a point already that I'm not even going to really worry about them. But if it bothers you at all, the other thing you can do is just sort of snip the tip and make it into a point. And I would not even attempt to try to find those little pieces in here because, or those little very, very tiny little tips. They're just going to tear apart anyhow. So if that happens, you can always just cut the tips. If it's a blunt end, you can always kind of cut that to a point and just go with that. Or if it's a pretty big piece, like say this one tore at this angle right here. And I don't see if I'm going to just tear it. There, I just tore it. So oh no, I tore my thing off. So, okay, I'm going to stick this piece down first. Now these ones here, these little veins, they're going to reach into each little section of leaf. I'm actually not even really looking at the background to see where they go. I'm just going to kind of arrange it so that I know it's going through the middle. Now here's my torn piece. So I'm just going to take that. I'm just going to stick it right up to that edge where it would have gone anyhow. Now you can't even see it. You can't see the tear. And when the glue gets fused, it's going to fuse that back into one piece and you'll never even notice it. So if you ever have a tear that happens like that, very easy to kind of heal that tear by just sticking them together. Or again, if it's so bad that it's like, oh my gosh, the piece that tore off got mangled, it looks terrible, just take your little scissors and make it into a point. Make that so it's not an obvious tear. And it's not going to be noticeable, I promise you. Again, as I keep saying over and over and over, and you probably get sick of hearing it, these are things that are found in nature, and nature is not perfect. It's one of the things that's wonderful and beautiful about nature is its imperfections. So I just kind of am a little more gentle with these. Even being gentle with them, I tore one of my pieces. So I tore quite a big piece here. It's very, very skinny. It's hard to see. You can probably see the paper there. So it tore at such a small point that I really don't notice that the point is gone. So on this one, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to lay it down, putting that close, and I'm just going to leave that where that little part of the vein isn't even going to matter. So, you know, yes, this part was meant to go actually probably another like 3/8 of an inch that way. But I just want to show you that leaving it there, and it's so small at that point, it looks like it's going to a point. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it off because trying to pull this out, sometimes when they get that small, and I got to see if I can even find it. Oh, it's right here. Pulling this off, see, I just tore it even more. I tore it into 2 pieces and there's no glue behind it anymore. And it's just going to look like a mess if I put it on there. And so I'm just going to forget about that. That's fine. So if that happens to you, don't like stress over it, okay? Because it looks just fine the way it is. And you're not going to notice, I'm not going to notice, nobody's going to notice that your vein is a little shorter than mine. Or actually, wait, my vein's going to be shorter than yours because I'm the one who tore mine. Okay, so now I just kind of, once in a while, just kind of double check myself. You can always, again, put tape if you want to hold it in place a little better, but I just kind of leave mine. It's a flat surface. I'm not too worried about it. But once in a while, I just kind of double check that I haven't wiggled. Okay, so we're doing step D now. We want to do stem A and leaves C and D. So where is stem A? This is stem A right here in this lighter green color. And what is hanging off of stem A? Well, leaves C and D. What do you know? So stem A goes right here, leaves C. So we have a C1, which means we have a C2. And C2 is right here. And I'm just going to try to be gentle. With these little veins, I just tug a little lighter and I just kind of try to hold on to them. Hold on to the vein part just to try to keep them from tearing because, you know, it's like it's a woven fabric. So this is a weave that's been like chopped up into the tiniest little threads. And so really all that's holding it together is that glue. And so you do want to be really kind of careful with these ones. They are a little delicate. D, okay, I've got something that is holding really strong there on D. And so instead of just pulling, I'm going to go in and I'm going to trim those little threads that are holding so tightly. Because if you pull on them, if you just really yank on them when they're holding like that, what sometimes will happen is sometimes it'll pull the thread to where a thread's sticking out, right? But other times it will pull the thread out of your applique. And you don't want that because it leaves sort of a little gap. And on the light tables, you'll really see the gap because the light will shine through. Once you remove the light table, it's not totally noticeable, so it's not going to like ruin your design, or where you're going to be like, oh man, there's like this you can tell this huge thread is missing. But you might see it through, a dark or a light background through a dark fabric, but anyhow, I just always just try to be a little gentle when they're holding. So okay, this one doesn't want to go where I want it. Okay, so this one I'm just putting the point right here. And again, on these leaves, because it's a darker fabric and I'm looking through the light table, and I keep my light table a little low for the videoing, I can't see the veins very well. So I just kind of arrange them to where the point is in the centers here, and all of these little veins go off to the little sections of leaves. I'm not even really caring whether or not I'm lined up with the vein in the background. So don't stress. Again, don't stress. None of this should be stressful. We don't want to be stressed. It's supposed to be fun, right? Let it be fun. Okay, so now that we've done step D, we're on to step E. We want to do berry 1. Where's berry 1? Here it is. It's one of these little black ones. So berry 1 is behind this stem. So I'm looking at my guide up here to find berry 1 actually. And I can see that it goes, and if you want, you can hold it down, flip. Here's berry 1. It goes right here. And this little stem, which is the next part, stem B, little short little guy here. Stem B is going to go over top of berry 1. So that gives you that, dimensional look. So I'm lining up again this little V. So why do I do that? Because it's kind of hard to see everything, and I'm looking for kind of a center point. So this little V, if I line that up good, I can't see the rest of it, but I don't care. I'm just going to like lay it down. It's good. Let it go where it goes. It's one of the things with these appliques. Oh, and then, sorry, we're going to go berries 2 through 5 now. But with these appliques is another thing, is I always tell people, if you're laying something down and you're having to force it, stop and back up and try placing it down another way. So I always tell people, if you lay it down in kind of a center point and you kind of let it fall, it might not fall perfectly the first time. Like with this branch, I stuck this V down and I laid it down. Well, this one kind of went over this way and this one kind of went over that way. But if I lifted it up and I just kind of lay it where it's supposed to go, it should just sort of fall gently where it's supposed to be. If it doesn't, then maybe you're too twisted down here, and straighten yourself back out, because they generally will fall where they're meant to. So if you were to take, this vein out and you laid it with the paper on here, you're going to see that it fits. It's the right shape, the right size, and everything. Once you take the paper off, it's a little floppy and it might move around a little bit, but it is the right shape. And so if you place it in the right way, it's going to fall exactly where it's supposed to. If you are placing it and you've got it crooked and you're trying to force these other ones to go over this way, well, lift it back up and set it back down again and try to lay it down more straight, because you shouldn't be having to force anything. If you're forcing something, you've got it, maybe your starting point is off a little bit too much. The other thing with these ones is if you're forcing it and it's just not going the right way and it's off just slightly, let it be off. That's okay. On some designs, like if you're doing, like, let's say one of my bears or something like that, you might want, in that case, you want it to be a little more accurate, because you're putting together an animal and that's going to be a more distinct creature that you're going to want to make sure he's placed correctly. But there is still forgiveness in that, but it's where you might want to be a little more accurate in those cases. But on floral things especially, you can really be kind of haphazard in a lot of ways, and it'll still look good, and it'll still, you won't really notice that there's changes. But anyhow, we'll worry about that down the road when you do one of my animal designs. Okay. And I don't want to stress you out about the animal designs. They're easy too. You just want to be maybe slightly more careful with the animals themselves, but then all the background stuff around them, oh, you can just slap that down. Who cares? Okay. Step F, final step. We want to do stem C. Stem C is this tiny little stem. It's barely a stem. It's barely in anything. And it is what is attached to the final leaf up here, leaf E. So just put that stem down. And we're going to do berry 6. Berry 6 is another one that is going to be behind that last little stem, alphabetical stem. So it's right back here. And then stem D, that's the one I'm taking out here. It's our very last little stem. Oh no, I tore a part of it. Ah! Okay, so again, when you tear something, what do? If it's a bigger piece like this one is, so I'm gonna find, I see this little V here, and then there's some stuff down here too that's a little bit of a V. I'm gonna make sure that I get this V in place, and it kind of lines up with the base of that stem, and then it goes down here. Now, the part that I tore off is right here at the tip. So my little torn piece is right here. I'm just gonna pull that out. That's all done. So this piece, I didn't tear it too far to where the berry is. So really I could just put the berry over that. You won't even see it. But just to show you guys, I'm going to, again, place that little torn piece down where it's supposed to go, butt it right up against where it was attached, and you don't even notice it. And when the glue goes to fuse it, it will fuse it, and you won't tell at all that anything got torn. Okay, so berries 7 through 11. 7. 8 is actually the berry that's going to cover that little tear, and really it's pretty much going to cover the tear. So even in that case, I wouldn't have even necessarily worried about putting it down, except for that I was just showing you guys how you can heal those little wounds. 10. And final berry 11. Which is right over here. It's kind of hard to see because it's on the stem in this leaf here. But we're done with the berries. And then the very last thing to do is leaf E. So we start with leaf E1, which means we have a E2. And that is the last piece. Gently pull that out. And I managed to do that one without any tears. Woohoo! And when I do my little fold over on ones like this, instead of folding over the tips, which I know are really gentle, I fold over kind of from that middle point because it's the thickest area. And then I can't really see the design under there, so I'm just going to lay this down to where this little, where that little vein, oh my gosh, it's like a little spider. This little vein is going to start here, putting just that point down, and making sure that center part goes through the middle. And then I'm just gonna kind of gently, done. And this one's done. Oh my gosh, again, another one under 20 minutes. That's awesome. Take that out from behind it, off with my light table, and there we go. Block number 3 is finished. So you're again gonna wanna go through the fusing process. Make sure you are doing your ironing first. Not ironing, you're pressing. You're gonna press, warm that glue up first, all over the whole thing. Once you've got it warmed up, that's when you're going to start your steaming and or spritzing and then ironing. So steam again for about 6 seconds or spritz it with water, and then just place that iron onto the surface that you've gotten either steamed or wet, and let it evaporate all that steam for about another 10 seconds. Double check the back, make sure that you're not seeing little dots. If you're seeing those little dots, turn your iron down, turn the heat down, and repeat over the whole thing. Flip it over, do it across the back, and then there you go. Finished with month 1, blocks 1 through 3. So I will see you again for the fireweed block number 4 coming up soon, and I hope you all are staying caught up and enjoying the process. And if you have any questions, you can always put comments under the video, and I will try to make sure to go on and answer those. I'm not super great at social media, so I'm not on there every day, but especially this first year of doing the class in 2023 and then early 2024, I am trying to make sure that I go on and at least answer questions that you all have, and hopefully I will be able to address a lot of those questions throughout the videos. And as you ask me questions, I will also try to address them in future videos too, just to make sure that everyone is comfortable and knows what they're doing and feels good to go. So I hope that you're getting used to the process and feeling like, you know, this is a manageable quilt. And when you finish, you're going to have this crazy intricate wall hanging and or a quilt that people are just going to be so impressed with. And I always try to tell people, I told people from the beginning when I first designed the quilt, if you look at it as one block at a time, this here isn't so intimidating. This is a little intimidating, but this not so much. So just take them one at a time. Try to keep up every month. If you aren't able to keep up, you can always go back and watch the videos again. And you can, of course, pause along the way and keep up with me. And hopefully you'll get to a point as we get going along where you'll do like the I'm going to beat Dana challenge and try to put your block together before me, which is completely fine. And you should have fun with it. So anyhow, I will see you guys again for block number 4 soon.